don't know what they did to piss off the commissioner, that it's almost feeling like, the what's that old saying, the redheaded stepchild. So because that's just what it's starting to feel. And
it's the owner fiasco.
Yeah, that the owner fiasco too. And that's another issue, the fact that we don't have an owner, and John Elway and Joe Ellis have to basically play stepfather until the management can get all their ducks in a row. Because and hopefully that's another issue that gets resolved soon, because I don't think Denver can go into next season in this type of shape and with the ownership in limbo.
I just really worry about next season though, because I feel like it's such a weird limbo place that we're in, and then everyone's talking about it, but I don't think there's going to be many changes next year at all. And I feel like this lull is just going to kind of fade into next year, and I just really hope that doesn't delve into the players a little bit, where they're just like use injuries as an excuse or use whatever it's going on and just get complacent, and then be like expect themselves to be so much better next year, and then they get kicked in the teeth straight off next year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, and we keep hearing that like the ownership thing probably will get solved next season, but that's not a guarantee. So you've got all this frustration, and I think that's where a lot of the fights come from, is that you have so many things, like the ownership problem, the GM problem, the coaching problem, whether it's offense or the nasty getting the defensive back coordinator, or trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with the offense. Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback coach? Like, there's so many issues, but then again, like, there are issues that could potentially be fixed in an off season. Depending on who you go with in the draft and what you decide to do with coaches.
Right. Like my Broncos Christmas wish is new ownership. And, for the longest time, everybody wanted the Bolin family to continue Pat's legacy, but it is absolutely a disaster. And the fact what Chris Hernandez mentioned in the comments, Chris said we don't have an owner to go to bat for us. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, not only did we not have one established owner that could go and petition the league to make changes. I mean, there's no way if we had a solid ownership that the Saints game would have worked out the way it had. But not only do we not get any sort of
push.
I don't want to say even favorable. I don't even want to say just normal, like treatment. I feel like
equal shake.
There's punishment going on, and the team is facing that. And I agree with Mr. Boggins. I think if some of these things are not cleared up, especially on the ownership side, that it's going to be more of the same. I mean, it's going to be an uphill climb. I mean, the fact is they're putting policies in that they're going to fine teams if they don't get these ownership things squared away. And these kids can't seem to agree on anything. Sell the team, pocket a ton of money, you're set for generations, and just let us be on our merry way. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, if Bezos buys, we might get new uniforms.
It sounds like the plan eventually was for Brittany to take over. And like I hate saying this because I love Pat Bolin and I love the legacy he set up, but I would not mind having an owner that had a whole lot more money than the Bolins had, just because then you don't have to worry about guarantees and coach's salary, and that I think that's one of the reasons. I think it's one of the big reasons why there's not even any question on whether Fangio's going to be back, because if they let Fangio go, they still got to pay him. Plus, they'd have to pay the next coach that they hire. They don't have the money for that. So, as much as I love the Bolins, I think it's time to let somebody else with some deeper pockets take it.
I don't think at all. Sorry, go for it.
A team that's worth $3 billion potentially. How do they not have any money? It's just crazy.
I don't think anything will change until at least after next season, though. I think they're not even going back to court until.
Well, but didn't the NFL just make that rule about ownership where one person has to own or have a majority of the ownership, or the team can get fined like $10 million or something like that? Am I way off on that?
I'm not
sure. They don't have any owner right now, so.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying.
No one's accepting that bill.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, if I think the NFL took it, I could have sworn that
Yeah, that's
Government
true.
wrote a story on that. So it's like it's kind of like the NFL saying, "Okay, you've got this offseason to figure it out, or we're going to fine you."
Yeah, I mean, they cut Melvin Gordon; they can afford it.
See, and I don't know if they're going to cut Melvin Gordon. It's so because okay, so you came into the beginning of the season and you're like, "There's no way they get rid of Philip Lindsay." Well, if you look at this season, you could make an argument for why you don't keep Philip Lindsay and you keep Melvin Gordon.
With the salary cap, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying with the salary cap going to be reducing anyways, they might be trying to cut. And with their whole ownership thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they just try to start saving money as many ways as possible. I mean, you could pick up another running back in the like a Harris and Naeem Harris, not Najee Harris. Sorry, Najee Harris from as like a miniature Derrick Henry in like the second round or whatever, or a Chuba Hubbard. Anything like that would be able to save your money, and then you get rid of Casey, you get rid of Bouye because why not, and Gordon because of the whole DUI thing. I think you'd be able to cut loss with him through the contract. So, I mean, you could be saving yourself a lot of money, and you're already. I mean, if you're Elway, what do you have to lose right now? Are you really trying to push for a Super Bowl? You know that that's not going to happen, or are you just trying to save as much money as possible? So,
well, and I think this goes to Pat Sherman with the offensive coordinator. We can all see that Philip Lindsay is not getting used properly. He's not one of those guys that you run in the middle every single down. Like, he's just not. And I think that's one of the reasons why he continues to get injured during the season. I mean, he's been hurt 3 times this season. So as much as I love the guy, you got to wonder, is he a fit for Shermer? Is he a fit for the NFL with the injury history? I love him and I want to keep him, but I don't know if he fits better than Melvin Gordon does.
Right. Yeah. And one thing I think the team actually has done a good job, and Elway has done a good job with, is actually maintaining the salaries and not getting in deep. You've seen a lot of the other teams signing these players to these massive deals, even just this offseason, even knowing that the salary cap was likely to go down next year and they're going to put themselves in a tough position. But the Broncos really did budget pretty well. And like Marcus said, you get rid of 3 or 4 of these players. I mean, just 3 of the players on the defense, K-Jack, Bouye, and Casey is over $35 million. And then, be interesting to see about the Vaughn restructure if that's going to happen. And there was an interesting thing in the news conference. Fangio was specifically asked about Gordon and if the team wished that he had just taken his punishment now instead of extending the court date so he could finish out the season, and now that any sort of suspension would start next year. And Vic's like that. Unfortunately, we have no say in that. That's his representation, and that's his lawyers, his reps, and unfortunately, we don't have any impact on that decision. And I think that could actually be the nail in his coffin with the Broncos. If they can get out of any sort of guarantees with some sort of behavior clauses or criminal clauses or whatnot, just the fact that he was willing to potentially be out the first 3 games of next year it really hurts the team. And I think that could be the end of Gordon.
I mean, if you look at it from his perspective, of course he's going to take the later on because he's trying to get his stat line as built as possible because he knows this is going to affect his open market. And he's just trying to rack it up so he can at least have some sort of leverage next year, which I don't think he'll be. I think we'll just probably cut ties with him because, I mean, he's been good, but it's definitely serviceable, definitely be able to running back. Really, I legitimately think we might go into the draft looking for a running back with how we could save with Gordon, depending on what we're going to do with Lindsey, if we're even going to keep Royce because he's just a jag. So who knows?
Yeah,